I've been wanting to make a demo of how to use Automate MakeHuman to Blender, the add-on, for a while. Here it is. Really quickly, I'm just going to make a character and then bring him into Blender. When I export them, I have to be careful. I have to export them in MakeHuman Exchange or MHX2 Format, binary file to make it smaller file, and then meter to make sure it's human proportions. Let's get Blender going. With Blender, let's open that MHX2 file. We're going to change some of this. So we want the proxy, so we get the topology that we chose, face shapes, but not face shape drivers, subsurface, so it's going to look better when it's rendered, and MHX Armature, that's really core. Open up the face panel so that we can adjust the face features very easily, and import. Great. Let's zoom in, take a look at the rendered view. Just set up a default background, a little bit brighter. Not too amazing, just enough to see some lighting features. Turn that into some light. Not too bright. Okay, that's great. Now, just save it so we can go back to it later for examples. Alright, by default MakeHuman creates a great base model. Last things first, let's go to our Automate MakeHuman to Blender tabs and add Eyelid Look, which is going to let us use our gaze bone. And now, when you move it up and down, character's eyelids will follow. It's hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit more. So when we move that bone up and down, the eyelids will move up and down to follow the eye. Second, put on eye blink track. Now, the eye blink track has to come after lid look because some of the bones that are used by lid look need to be keyframed when blinks occur. So let's see what that looks like. That's not too bad. So with the bone up, down. Good. There you go. With just a few clicks, we now have eyelids that will follow the eyes when the character moves them up and down. That's a nice feature. And eye blink with a quick eye blink track. And it's preset with defaults that are the average for a human from some study data I found online. So next, we're going to go to first part, shaders. Everything looks great, except that hair is so shiny. Maybe we could make that look a bit less like a helmet and a bit more realistic. Let's go to the material for that. If I can select it. Seem to be having a problem selecting things. Oh, there we go. I was still in the bones. Go to that hair. And let's see it in rendered view again. Perfect. Looks like a shiny, shiny head. Now we're going to change just, let's see, the specular. Lower it a bit. And make it a bit rough so that our specular is evened out across the surface. Bring our specular back up a bit. 0.01. There you go. Now the hair looks a bit more realistic, but it still interacts with the lighting in the scene. Second, we want to fix the skin so it has a subsurface. Let's say 0.01 and kind of a flesh tone, dark underneath. What happens if we give it a 0 subsurface? Looks okay, a little bit flat. 0.1. Whoa, very much like Play-Doh. And 0.02. Somewhere in between. Let's see that better. Okay, the ears look nice, realistic, kind of. Oh, how's the specular? What do we set that to? Specular, ooh, still too high, 0.01. 0.03. And it's too much roughness. Then we can bring down specular, 0.1. Alright. Now, after doing all of that work on the shaders, it would be nice if we could, I don't know, template it. Let's save this, but before we do, go up to see the name, the full name of that material. The hair, the ponytail. Human1, Ponytail01, Ponytail01. If we look at the skin, Human1, female generic, young Caucasian female, it looks like there is a naming convention. So if we go to our template tab, and again, last things first, select the skin mesh and the hair mesh. We can do this at the same time. What did I just do there? I moved the cursor. And we will rename materials. There we go. There we go. Save this as a template. Template 1. And now go back to the original Human1 file that we had. This is the fresh import of MHX, where we've only adjusted the environment to make it a little bit easier to see how it interacts with the characters mesh. So we had our templated materials on 2 meshes, but you know, sometimes it's hard to select just the meshes that you want, and sometimes you accidentally select an armature. So let's see what happens if we use the swap material search from file function with everything selected. Search file, template 1, search file, and it just replaced the shaders with our template shaders. You can see the name has changed, and also you can see subsurface has been added with the settings that we had originally. For roughness, specular, everything. It's literally copied the shader from the template file into this file. Now that that's done, let's go to mesh size. Now this is a bit of a weird one. It's not as functional as I wanted it to be, but it's still semi-useful. Suppose you want to do a cloth sim on the clothing of the character, and you find that, oh wow, that clothing is too close to the skin of the character, to the skin mesh. You don't want to delete any verts, maybe, so you just like to make the clothing increase in size without changing the size of your character skin mesh. We can go to pose mode, and if we scale up, ooh, it won't let us do that. If we unlock and scale just the X and Z, we notice that we can make our clothing get larger, but not longer. That's useful, but unfortunately we're moving our character mesh at the same time. Oh look, it's a Popeye effect. Wow. Working out. Deezed. So what we have here is a opportunity. Select the clothing mesh, select the armature that it's attached to, go back to your Automate MakeHuman to Blender panels, and create size rig. It looks like nothing's happened, but if you look at your rigs, you'll see your original MHX rig has a new rig parented to it. Now this is your resize rig. We are going to hide the original rig just to prevent confusion, and go to the pose bones, and now we have already unlocked this side. We did that before we started. Let's go over to the other side, which we had not unlocked, just to prove a point, and look at some other bones. They have all had their X and Z values unlocked. Now, when we did our create size rig, it chose just the X and Z to unlock, because that's all you need to scale it so that the clothing, but if for whatever reason you decide you want to scale along the Y direction as well, feel free to unlock and then do that, and it will get bigger and longer as well. So you can then finish it off. Now it's just a bit too big. Let's size it down a bit. So when you're doing a cloth sim, you might want to have clothing that's oversized to begin with, and then your cloth sim will shrink it from the initial size down to fit the mesh. So this is useful. Perhaps if you wanted to template your mesh size increases, because this is all attached to the bone scaling. So that can then be copied with the pose, copy pose, and then you go to the other place, the other armature, and you paste the pose there. Anyway, so now that we've done that, let's do our clothing application of the modifier. It looks like repose. So this armature here is called what? Human 1.001. Human 1.001, that's the modifier. Let's apply as a shape key. Apply shape key. Done. Looks like it disappeared. Go back to the shape keys. Now here is the shape key. Great. So maybe we want half. I'll just leave that the way it is. Now that that is done, we've got our shape key, we can delete that extra armature and bring our regular armature back, and everything is fine. Our regular armature still will control the clothing properly, the resized clothing. Great. Nothing is broken, everything works. Next thing to show is the Vertex group panel. Here is stuff that's useful when we want to do our cloth sims again. So suppose you want to do a sim on the hair so that this part of the ponytail, the dangly part, will swish and swash back and forth when the character walks. Let's add groups, and this will automatically add an auto mask out and auto cloth pin. The pin is obvious what we're going to do with that. That's for setting the cloth sim's pinning amount. So some of the hair will move. The hair near the bottom will be freely moving, and the hair at the top will be pinned 100% in place, unable to move. So we will, before doing that, we will go to the mask out. And that is the part of the hair that we do not want to simulate. We're going to mask it out using a mask modifier, which we can add right now. We'll add after. So let's go to edit mode, and going to select just those. Control L to select linked. Control I to invert. This is going to be our mask group. Assign. And also in our cloth pin, we want it to be fully pinned and not moving. This is just in case, for whatever reason, some of the values bleed over into something else. Anyway, we are going to go back here. Our cloth pinning here is going to be done differently. First, add the mask modifier. Nope, add the mask modifier. We can toggle it on and off easily. And then go to your cloth pinning section and go to weight paint. As you can see, it's all blue. What we want to do is we want to change just the top area to be red. There's a fast way to do that. Go back to edit mode and select hide everything except that ponytail. Deselect. Select just the stuff near the top, and do this properly. Okay, good enough. And this stuff we want to be all red. We want this to be full pin, and everything at the bottom to be less pin. we can go to our weight paint section, and now there's this grow paint. Forget select by weight for now. Just go to grow paint. We want to grow from a paint value of 1 to a paint value of 0 by the end. No, not 0, 0.2. We do 0.2, a little bit of pinning. And the part that isn't finished with the grow iterations is going to be filled in with 0.2 as well. So it's going to grow 4 iterations, and from iteration 1 through iteration 4, it will reduce the weight from 1 down to 0.2. Then whatever wasn't filled in will now be filled in with the tail value of 0.2. It makes sense on a ponytail. It's easy to explain on a ponytail. It's hard to explain on clothing. Grow paint. Oh, I made a mistake. I didn't have all of the strands of the hair selected. I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Let's undo. Select a few more. And then try that again. Grow paint. Did it do everything? Yes. All of the hair has been painted. Go to the weight paint modifier and look at that. Easy. Just select the top bunch of hair. Select the number of iterations, 4. It went from 1 down to 0.2 over 4 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then after 4, it's all 0.2. The tail is filled with 0.2. Back to our... Oh, let's unhide the vertices and see what happened to the Shift H, Alt H. Oh no, because we have a modifier on. Let's toggle that mask out. So now, if anything goes wrong, and for whatever reason the other vertices are included in the simulation, they will be pinned completely. So no problem there. Toggle that again. Go back to object mode and solid and rendered. And if we bring back all the rest of our character, they look very bald. Very interesting. But for simulation purposes, this is much, much easier. Let's do a quick simulation just to see what's going to happen. So we even have a panel for that. Add cloth sim. And hide everything else just to make this simple, easier to see. Add cloth sim. So now we have a cloth sim added, and it has automatically set for us the cloth pin group. As long as it's named Auto Cloth Pin, it will be set to Auto Cloth Pin. So what does the sim do? Let's watch just a little bit, a few frames. Here we'll bake the simulation. Alright. So the advantages to masking out vertices and then baking the simulation is that you can bake it much quicker. The problem is, when you want to look and see what it looks like afterwards, you might have a problem. If you turn off the mask, let's see, hide that armature, not needed right now. This is if your character's not moving. Notice there's no problem at all. The simulation is running, the hair is simulated, and the part that's not simulated looks fine. Everything's fine. But if your character happens to be moving, whether it's the armature bones they're moving or even the armature itself that's moving. Here, let's keyframe it, find out. Location, and then over there. You're starting to see the problem crop up right here. So let's rebake the simulation and see if it will fix it. First, turn our mask modifier. Rebake the simulation. Alright, the simulation looks okay. What happens with our mask modifier? Uh-oh. The hair's not moving. Now there is a fix for this. You'll notice that the hair simulation is still going. It is simulating that hair. Sort of. Is it? Ah, here we go. Oh, I did it wrong. Here, let me do something. Mask, and I need to bake the simulation. I was doing that wrong. Okay, go back to the simulation. What am I doing? Oh, it is baked. Yeah, that's right. I'll do it again. Just to make sure I did that right. Because it looks like the hair isn't moving enough. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Yeah, the hair is simulated. Okay, and then if we turn off the mask modifier, go back a bit. Oh, the hair is not in the right place. So, right, the simulation is going, but the hair is in the wrong place. There's a fix for this. So, everything like that, we can go to the AMH2B panel and the Shapekey section, Bake Deform Shapekeys. This will turn your animation from the simulation modifier to Shapekeys. We set the number of frames, 40. Bake Deform keys, and this may take some time. It's not a fast operation. Okay, done. First, nothing looks different. We have to hide the simulation. Then, oh, our mask. How did our mask get back on? Okay, there we go. See if it works. Okay, it worked. The simulation deformations to the mesh are now baked into Shapekeys. And because it is set for dynamic baking, they will even respect the movements of the armature. So if you have an armature in walk mode, then the simulation will stay, the simulation will bake properly to Shapekeys. If you do not have an armature, you can turn off dynamic and it will work faster. But if there's an armature involved, you should keep dynamic turned on. We'll see a bit of that later, perhaps. So now that we have put a bunch of work into the simulation, potentially, it wasn't actually a lot, but, oh, that's neat. The hair color is shown with the weight paint on top. Alright, so we've spent a little time getting that right. And perhaps whatever simulation we've got of weight shape keys on here, maybe we want to transfer it to another mesh for whatever reason. So we can do that. We can save this as template 2. And then we can use this file. Let's just load up our original import MHX file. We've changed the hair. Right now we can see there's no extra vertex groups, no extra shape keys. If we go to AMH2B in our vertex group panel, there is a copy from file option. It will copy anything with the prefix auto. So auto cloth pin and auto mask out will be copied from... Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Before we save that template file, I should have changed the name of the object. Right now, the hair called human1, human1 colon ponytail 01. I need to use the AMH2B panel and easily template the name of the object, make object searchable. It has changed it to ponytail 01. Now we can save our template file. Go back to the original import of the MHX. As we can see, our character is back to default helmet hair. Very shiny. Let's quickly fix that with our swap material. That's nice. Okay. And just to make it easier, rendered. Just to make it... Okay, let's see. Select the hair. Go to Vertex Group. Hide that. Copy from file. Notice that we don't have the extra vertex group or shape key. We will copy from file. Template 2, copy from file. Now we have our extra 2 groups. Our mask out group, we'll look at that briefly. See if we can hide that. And our, Let's see, how do we do it? If we go to weight paint, we can see it real quick. Our mask out group is just the hair close to the head. Our cloth pin group is the rainbow hair. Hooray! So next, let's see if we can get our shape keys to this hair from the other file. When we saved the other file, the name of the shape keys all began with DS key. So we will copy from file and it will pick up all of the deform shape key that we had created. Now this can be changed to auto. I could have changed the name to auto and it will pick up all of the shape keys prefixed with auto, but I have DS key already done in the template, so I will use that. Copy from file. Did it work? Yes, it did. Now, none of them are animated. Originally, those shape keys were animated. There is a quick hack. You can do non-relative keys and then move the evaluation time slider. Well, here I'll have to zoom in a bit to make it obvious. If we use the evaluation time slider, we can animate the hair with the shape keys, but you have to do it kind of differently than in the original. Sorry about that. So now that we've got all those extra shape keys on there, but they're not animated, we're just going to delete them for now. Oh, shape key, select the hair, then delete key. Good, okay. And now we're just left with our good old cloth pin and mask out settings. My shaders are fixed. Next step is to add some more animation to it. We've already seen how to do eye blink and the eyelid movements. Be nice to have our character also animate their armature. So next is our armature area. Armature panel. The first one, we'll view head on to see how this works. First, I'm going to import some animated armatures to demonstrate the next steps. I have two FBX files that I downloaded from Mixamo, a walking and a stop walking animation. Now both of these animations are for armatures that are of a different size than our character. Our character's armature is bigger. So if we want to make this work properly, we're going to have to get the scale correct. And also, the pose is going to have to be correct. This is a T-pose on our animated armature, but as we can see, our default MHX armature is a not quite T-pose. In order to get it there quickly and automatically, there is a script in the armature area, the adjust pose. We can go to a file that's available in the download for the AMH2B add-on. No pose MH default Mixamo, and just select all, copy, close the file, go into Blender, and it has a internal text editor. If I can select it, new, default name is text, that's okay. Paste in everything that we got from that file that's available online and also in the AMH2B zip file. Go back to adjust pose, and with our armature selected, it will apply that script. So we very quickly have it in T-pose. So what we can do now is select everything in our scene that is character and armature. We want to select all of the mesh that is attached to our MHX armature and the animated rig, and make sure our MHX armature is selected last, because we're going to use a function called Armature Retarget Lucky. And this will in a kind of a strange, oops, I forgot to do something. Before we do that, we need to adjust our MHX Armature, the inverse kinematics section. We've set up the forward kinematics with our adjust pose script. Now we need to apply it to the inverse kinematics with snap left IK arm, snap right IK arm, snap left leg, snap right leg, and that will move the inverse kinematics into the same position as the forward kinematics. Unfortunately, it has guessed wrong when it comes to the position of the elbow IK points. We're going to just move them backwards, and this is a common problem. I find every time I do this, I always have inverse kinematics problems with the elbows. The knees, not such a problem. They always seem to work out well. Everything's good there, but the elbows have to be brought back behind and slightly above, or maybe below, but depends on you, what animation you're doing, but generally slightly above, but definitely behind the elbows to make it look right. Now that that's done, we can go back to our AMH2B panel and select everything, all the meshes, all of the rigs, well, just the 2 rigs, and lucky. Oh, that didn't do it. Lucky. Now we have an extra rig. We're just going to move that to its own collection, just to prevent problems. That's a bridge repose armature that helps us get from our T-pose, from our non-T-pose in the other armature to this T-pose. Hard to explain, but now that you see it, that's the way it is. Is there a better way? Heck yeah, I just don't know what it is. Now that we've got our character with some animation and an armature, it becomes a bit more obvious that we need to, for each armature modifier, apply preserve volume. Now you'll see there are 2 armature modifiers on each of the meshes. That's because the first is the bridge repose modifier that I mentioned. We have a second armature that helps to get the character into the right position. Now that has preserve volume because my script added it, but by default the MHX Armature does not have preserve volume for anything. I suppose it's better for performance, but it does not look as nice. So let's turn on preserve volume, and this will help to flesh out the elbow joints, for example. It's hard to see, but when there's extreme bending, it's much more obvious. And let's just do that for everything by selecting everything, even the armature, because, well, it's hard to select things one at a time. Go back to our armature, look down in the middle, preserve volume toggle, enable. Now everything is preserve volume toggled easily, even the hard to select eyes, eyelashes, and, can I even get it? The eyebrow. Good. See that again. Still working on armature. Sometimes you'll find it necessary to use other buttons. I'm not going to go over them in this video, unfortunately. In another video, I will. Now that we've got the armature put together so that it's retargeted, there are some problems. We see too many bones in there. Let's fix that up. Let's hide everything except the armature. And as you can see, there are extra bones inside. We can fix the way it looks a bit. These bones, not the MHX bones, invert. I will move these bones. You saw how I do that? I select the 2 MHX bones in the first bones layer, visible layer. I then invert with Control I, and now I'm selecting everything that was newly added to the MHX armature by the lucky function. I'm going to press M and move bone layer down 1. Now all of those new bones are all in one place. Makes it easier to work with your MHX armature after using the lucky function. Just saying. Not necessary step, but makes it much easier to work with. Or maybe you just want to look at it that way. Kind of makes it easier to watch the original animation. Right now, it's not animated because we have to go back to the dope sheet, then the action editor, and select that Mixamo animation. Play it. Okay. What about our armature? What about our mesh? Everything still working? Yes. Great. Great. Retargeting seems to have worked. Let's view that. Okay, great. And the feet are even touching the ground properly, it looks like. We go... Great. Great. No jittering of the feet either. Okay. Now, it does look a little funny for the feet. We can go back and turn FK back on if you want, but I'm going to skip it for now. We're just going to keep things simple. So now that we've got the walk animation in there, maybe we want to have it loop so we see more than just one walk cycle. Maybe we want to see 2 walk cycles. Let's hop into the nonlinear animation editor, push down the original walk animation so that we can adjust its properties. And under strip, we are going to... Nope, my mistake. Under strip and then action clip. Going to repeat twice. Under clip, and we will repeat twice. Now there's a problem that we can see. When the character goes to the second version of the walk cycle, the second copy of the walk cycle, they're back in the original position. Be nice if there were an easy way to get them to move the armature so that the animation's lined up. And there is. First, to get a little setup going, we have to fix or affix an empty to a bone so that we can use that as a ratchet point. I'll show you. It's hard to explain with words. It's easier to demonstrate. I'm just going to select one of the foot bones. Doesn't have to be a specific bone, but this happens to work well. Shift S, bring my cursor to selected. Exit pose mode, back to object mode, add an empty. Scale it down a bit to make it easier to work with. Whoop, careful. Scale it down a bit to make it easier to work with. Apply scale. Make sure I do that. Make sure the armature is selected second. Now I can go to pose mode. Select the bone that I want to parent the empty to. Control P, parent to bone. Just check it. Back up. Yep, the empty moves with the bone. So now I can use it as a ratchet point. In the animation tab, there's a ratchet hold, and that will let me quickly ratchet the position of the selected object based on the position of the other object. So now we can see that the walk animation that ended there now goes on to the end. Okay, next level. Let's add a second animation and blend between the two animations. And using ratchet hold to make sure that the feet stay in the right position. They don't slide around or do something weird. Let's import our next animation. Just import the FBX. Stop walking. So this imported rig, if we look at it, it's scale 0.01. Rotation 90. Why did I do that? Darn it. What did I do? Okay. And our MHX rig, rotation 0, scale 1. If we try and take the animation from this new rig and put it onto our MHX rig, it's going to look very wrong. The character is going to wobble around a lot because it's wrong scale. What we need to do is, and I should have written down the scaling that I used on the first animated armature, because now I need to try and match it up to our already animated armature, and that's a bit difficult. But I'll just eyeball it close enough. I will now use a not apply scale. If I do that, it's going to do something weird to the animation. It just disappeared. Where did it go? It's wobbling around somewhere in space because it's at scale 100 times what it should be. We're going to use AMH2B, Armature, apply scale to rig, and now scale is 1, and it does not disappear. It's not in a weird place. We will then apply rotation, because you need to do that as well. And now we can use that second animation and apply it onto, if I can go to Action Editor in the dope sheet. And put that second, ooh, I'll rename it. I'll rename it to make it easier. Second. Second. Great. The animation looks right there as well. Very good. But we want to push this down, go back to our nonlinear animation editor, and move our second to the end of the first. Let's blend the two together. Auto blend and auto blend, and see how that looks when they are put together. Now there's some skipping, unfortunately. But I can tell from the way that the person is walking, they're landing on the right foot. Landing on the right foot, the left foot is just coming forward, and then boom, they have right foot down and left foot ahead. The left foot changes position wildly. We need to blend this over a longer time period. Here, let's try over there. Does that look okay? No, that looks like they do a weird walk. Let's do something fun. Let's basically overlap one full cycle of walking with our coming to a stop animation. Oh, by the way, here's the coming to a stop animation just to see what it looks like. Coming to a stop looks like... Oh, I need to let us see more. Hold on. Timeline. Timeline. How long is this? Let's make it 150. Okay, our second animation is quite long. Move that out. Let's see what it looks like. So our coming to a stop, walk forward, and then stopped. That's what it should look like. So let's bring our walking animation back to the beginning. Our second animation will start right into the second stage of walking and see how that looks. That looks reasonable. Oh, I did something funny with that. I pushed down too much. Oh well. I accidentally pushed down our previous Ratchet Hold numbers, I think. Maybe not. Something weird is happening though. Okay, I'll have to do some funny stuff with Ratchet Hold to make it work. Let's fix this. So we start walking. Great. Then they go back to the beginning. Okay, we'll just use Ratchet Hold again. I think we can make this work. Delete that. We don't even need that armature anymore. So when we get here, our left foot is down. Let's just select the empty and then the armature. It's difficult. Select the empty and then the armature. Now our character is just about to transition back. So we will use the Ratchet Hold option. Use the Ratchet Hold option here. See what happens. Do it once. Looks good. And now looks like the feet are sliding. That doesn't look right. Maybe we can use Ratchet Hold to fix that up as well. But I noticed that we're going to have to do it for the other foot at some point. We're going to have to add an empty to this left foot as well. Let's go in and select the same bone, and select the same bone that was on the right foot. Shift S, cursor to selected, object mode, add empty arrows, scale it to make it easier to work with. Apply the scale. Select your armature again. Armature again. And Control Tab, pose mode, Control P, parent to bone, exit pose mode, back up a bit. Good, it's moving. Width there. Let's go and look at it from the side. And we started our work here. Go back. And you know what? Let's just ratchet hold for 30 frames. Oh, too many. I guess we're just going to have to do it one at a time. So, whoops, I've got the wrong thing selected for ratchet hold. Select the left foot, or is that the right foot? Select the right foot empty. And, okay, until the foot is about to come up off the floor. And that's good. Switch, and you'll notice that your character's dipping into the floor. That's okay for a little while. We're going to fix the Z movements after we have done all of our ratchet hold applications. So we go until this foot looks like it's going to move. Let's go back to nonlinear animation. Let's go to nonlinear animation and just watch where does the transition finish. Oh, just a few more. So ratchet hold, and we're done. So now our character unfortunately is bobbing up and down in the Z direction. Let's set our Z to 0 keyframe and then delete that single keyframe. But we actually want to clear single keyframe for all of them. So let's go back and see what this all looks like put together. I think it's just 125 frames long. I'll cut it off a little bit. Hide that. Make it rendered so it looks reasonable. Okay. How's that? Looks like it's missing something. I think our character is not blinking. That's not right. Let's just save and quickly add the blink track back to our character. Eyelid, lid look, eyelid, eye blink, track. Make them blink a little bit more often. Let's say they blink at a rate of 30. We've got a fast blinker. So we'll get to see a few more blinks. There you go. Wow, not so bad for a few clicks. Save it out, and we're done. This is about as far as AMH2B can take you. The rest you're going to have to do yourself. There is a Moho section in the Import MHX2 section, which will let you do some facial animation. So you can do, sync up the mouth to match with, some text. It's hard to explain, but I can do another video about that. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to know when more come out, then subscribe and hit that bell. Go algorithm!